She was running for her life through a crowded street when a stranger's hand grabbed hers. His voice was calm, but urgent. "You're in danger. Pretend I'm your husband." She had no choice but to trust him. What happened next changed everything she thought she knew about love and survival. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our emotional true stories. If you love tales of unexpected romance and second chances, this one will leave you breathless. Now let's begin. Olivia Bennett had always believed in playing it safe. At 28, she worked as a curator at a small art gallery downtown, lived in a modest apartment, and kept her circle of friends even smaller. Her life was predictable, comfortable, and entirely hers. That Tuesday afternoon started like any other. She sat in her favorite coffee shop, laptop open, responding to emails about an upcoming exhibition. Her natural curls were pulled back in a loose bun, and she wore her favorite mustard yellow cardigan that her grandmother had given her years ago. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air, and soft jazz played in the background. Everything felt normal. Everything felt safe. But safety is often just an illusion we create for ourselves. Olivia's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You have something that belongs to dangerous people. Run." Her heart stopped. Before she could process the message, she noticed two men entering the coffee shop. They weren't there for coffee. Their eyes scanned the room with predatory focus, and when their gaze landed on her, she knew. The message wasn't a joke. Her hands trembled as she closed her laptop and stuffed it into her bag. She tried to stay calm, tried to act natural, but fear has a way of making every movement feel obvious. She slipped toward the back exit, her pulse hammering in her ears. The cool autumn air hit her face as she stepped onto the busy downtown street. She walked quickly, trying to blend into the crowd of afternoon shoppers and office workers heading home. But when she glanced back, the men were following her. Olivia's walk turned into a jog, then a run. Her brown skin glistened with nervous sweat despite the cool weather. People stared as she pushed past them, her bag bouncing against her hip. She had no idea where she was going. She just knew she had to get away. Her mind raced, trying to understand what was happening. What could she possibly have that dangerous people wanted? Then it hit her. Troy, her ex-boyfriend. 3 months ago, he had stopped by her apartment, frantic and paranoid. He had asked to store a few things at her place, just temporarily. She had said no. They were done. But had he slipped something into her bag anyway? She turned a corner sharply, her breath coming in gasps. Her legs burned. She wasn't athletic, wasn't built for running. The street ahead was crowded with people leaving work, and she tried to lose herself among them. That's when it happened. A strong hand wrapped around hers, firm but not rough. Olivia's scream caught in her throat as she was pulled sideways into a small alcove between two buildings. She looked up, ready to fight, and found herself staring into the most intense brown eyes she had ever seen. The man was tall, with dark hair and a strong jawline. He wore an expensive leather jacket and carried himself with the kind of confidence that came from never having to prove anything to anyone. "You're in danger," he said quietly, his voice steady and calm. "Pretend I'm your husband." Before Olivia could respond, he wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her close. His cologne was subtle, woodsy. She could feel the steady beat of his heart against her shoulder, so different from her own racing pulse. The two men who had been chasing her walked past the alcove, their eyes scanning the crowd. The stranger held Olivia tighter, turning slightly so his body shielded her from view. He leaned down and pressed his lips near her temple, the gesture intimate and protective. To anyone watching, they looked like a couple sharing a private moment. The men passed without seeing them. Olivia's legs felt weak. The stranger didn't let go immediately. He waited, watching until the men had disappeared into the crowd. Only then did he step back slightly, though his hand remained on her arm, steadying her. "My name is Nicholas Grant," he said softly, "and we need to get you somewhere safe. Right now." Olivia's voice came out shaky. "I don't understand. What's happening? Who are you?" "I'll explain everything, but not here," Nicholas said, his eyes still scanning the street. "Those men work for people who don't give second chances. Do you trust me?" It was a ridiculous question. She didn't know this man, but when she looked into his eyes, she saw genuine concern, Not danger. And what choice did she have? She nodded. Nicholas led her to a sleek black car parked nearby. The ride to his penthouse was quiet except for Olivia's attempts to catch her breath. She studied him from the corner of her eye. He drove with casual expertise, checking his mirrors constantly. Everything about him spoke of wealth and power, from his watch to the way he carried himself. She was a girl from the South Side who had worked 2 jobs to put herself through college. What was a man like this doing, saving someone like her? The penthouse was exactly what she expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her yearly salary, and art on the walls that belonged in museums. But despite its grandeur, the space felt empty, cold, like a beautiful shell with no soul inside. Nicholas poured her a glass of water and sat across from her. "Tell me everything," he said gently, and Olivia did. She told him about Troy, her ex-boyfriend, who had always been involved in things he wouldn't explain. She told him about the suspicious visit 3 months ago, how paranoid he had seemed. She pulled out her bag and found it, a small USB drive tucked into a hidden pocket she rarely used. She had never noticed it before. Nicholas's expression darkened when he saw it. "Do you know what's on this?" She shook her head, tears building in her eyes. "I didn't even know it was there. I just want my normal life back. I curate art. I'm nobody. Why is this happening to me?" For the first time, Nicholas's stern expression softened. He moved to sit beside her on the couch, close but not touching. "You're not nobody, Olivia, and I'm going to make sure you get through this safely. I promise you that." There was something in his voice, a depth of conviction that made her believe him. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. "You don't even know me." Nicholas was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried old pain. "I had a younger sister. 5 years ago, she got mixed up with the wrong people. I was too busy building my company, making money, being important. I didn't pay attention to the signs. By the time I realized she needed help, it was too late. I couldn't protect her." He looked directly at Olivia. "When I saw those men following you today, I saw her, and I couldn't walk away." Olivia's heart broke for this stranger who had saved her life. She reached out and took his hand. "I'm sorry about your sister." Nicholas looked down at their joined hands, and something shifted in the air between them. He cleared his throat and gently pulled away, standing up. "You'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow I'll have some people look into what's on that drive and figure out who's after you. The guest room is down the hall. You'll be safe here." That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. She lay in the most comfortable bed she had ever experienced, in a room bigger than her entire apartment, and felt completely out of place. Around 3 in the morning, she got up for water and found Nicholas in the kitchen, unable to sleep either. They talked until sunrise. He told her about building his tech security company from nothing, about the pressure and the loneliness that came with success. She told him about growing up with her grandmother after her parents died, about her love for art and her dream of one day opening her own gallery where young Black artists could showcase their work without fighting for space in a world that often overlooked them. "That's a beautiful dream," Nicholas said, and the way he looked at her made her feel like he actually saw her, really saw her, in a way most people never did. By morning, they had a plan. Nicholas's investigation revealed that Troy had been involved in money laundering for a dangerous crime organization. The USB drive contained evidence that could bring down the entire operation. But turning it over to the FBI would take time, and in the meantime, Olivia was in serious danger. "They're still looking for you," Nicholas explained over breakfast. "I have a proposal. It's unconventional, but it might keep you safe." "What kind of proposal?" "Pretend to be my wife. Move in here. We create a cover story, make it public. These people are smart, but they're also cautious. They won't move against the wife of a high-profile billionaire without serious planning. It buys us time." Olivia almost laughed. "You want me to fake marry you?" "Just until this is over," Nicholas said, but there was something in his eyes she couldn't read. "You wear a ring, we're seen together in public, and you stay somewhere they can't touch you. It's just pretend." She should have said no. It was crazy. But the alternative was witness protection or constant fear, and something about Nicholas made her feel safer than she had in years. "Okay," she heard herself say, "just until this is over." The first week was awkward. Olivia tiptoed around the penthouse like a guest, careful not to disturb anything. Nicholas worked from home, making calls in his office while she tried to stay out of the way. But slowly, things began to change. He asked her opinion on a painting he was considering for his living room. She taught him how to make her grandmother's famous sweet potato pie. They developed routines, morning coffee together, evening walks around the neighborhood, his hand in hers for appearance's sake, except it started to feel less like pretend. Olivia caught herself watching him when he didn't notice. The way he concentrated when reading reports, the rare smiles that transformed his serious face, the gentleness in his hands when he helped her with her coat. And Nicholas found himself making excuses to be near her, working in the living room instead of his office, asking her advice on things he didn't really need help with, coming home early instead of staying late at the office. 1 month in, everything changed. Olivia woke up screaming from a nightmare. She dreamed the men had found her, that Nicholas couldn't save her, that she was alone and terrified. Before she could catch her breath, Nicholas burst into her room, his eyes wild with concern. "You're okay," he said, sitting on the edge of her bed. "You're safe. I'm here." But Olivia couldn't stop shaking. The fear felt too real. Without thinking, Nicholas pulled her into his arms, holding her close while she trembled. He stroked her curls, whispering reassurances. "I won't let anything happen to you. I promise. You're not alone." Olivia pulled back slightly to look at him, and the words caught in her throat. In the dim light from the hallway, she could see everything he usually kept hidden. The loneliness, the care, the something more that neither of them had been brave enough to name. "Nicholas," she whispered. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek. "This is a bad idea," he said softly. "I know." But neither of them pulled away. The kiss was inevitable. Soft at first, tentative, then deeper as weeks of suppressed feelings poured out. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "This wasn't supposed to happen," Olivia said, her forehead resting against his. "I know," Nicholas replied, "but I can't pretend anymore. This stopped being fake for me weeks ago. You've become everything I didn't know I needed." Tears streamed down Olivia's face. "I'm scared. What happens when this is over? You're a billionaire. I'm just a girl who loves art. Your world and mine, they don't fit together." Nicholas took her hands. "Then we'll build a new world. One that's just ours. If you want that, if you want me." "I do," she whispered. "I really do." That night, everything changed between them. The pretend marriage became something real, something precious. They fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms, and for the first time in weeks, Olivia felt truly safe. But happiness is often fragile. The next morning, Nicholas discovered the FBI was ready to move on the case. They would need to turn over the USB drive, and Olivia would need to testify. It was good news. It meant the danger would end. But it also meant their arrangement would be over. Olivia would get her life back, return to normal, and Nicholas would return to his empty penthouse and lonelier life. Neither of them mentioned what that meant for what they had found together. They were getting ready to leave for the FBI field office when someone knocked on the door. Nicholas checked the security camera, and his face went white. "Stay in the bedroom," he told Olivia. But she followed him anyway and saw her ex-boyfriend Troy standing in the hallway, looking desperate and terrified. Against his better judgment, Nicholas let him in. "I'm so sorry," Troy said immediately, looking at Olivia with genuine regret. "I never meant for you to get involved. I was stupid, got in over my head, and I panicked. I hid that drive in your bag thinking they'd never look for it there." "You put a target on her back," Nicholas said coldly. "I know, and I tried to fix it. I really did. But they found out. They know she has it, and they know she's here." Troy's voice broke. "They're coming, right now. I came to warn you. You have to run." Olivia felt her blood turn to ice. "What did you do, Troy?" "I told them where you were. They have my daughter. Said they'd hurt her if I didn't tell them. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Before Nicholas could respond, the power cut out. In the darkness, they heard the sound of the penthouse door being forced open. Nicholas grabbed Olivia's hand. "Service elevator. Now." They ran through the dark apartment, Troy behind them. Nicholas knew every inch of his home, and led them surely through the blackness. They made it to the service elevator, but not before Olivia heard footsteps behind them. Heavy. Multiple people. Getting closer. The elevator ride down felt like an eternity. Nicholas held her close, his heart pounding against her ear. "We're going to be okay," he kept saying. "We're going to be okay." They made it to the parking garage in Nicholas's car. He drove like someone trained for this, weaving through traffic, running lights, doing everything to lose the car that appeared behind them. Olivia held onto the door handle, terrified but trusting Nicholas completely. Troy sat in the back, crying and apologizing over and over. The FBI field office appeared ahead like salvation. Nicholas pulled up to the security gate, and within seconds they were surrounded by federal agents. They were safe. Finally safe. Inside, they gave their statements, turned over the USB drive, watched as agents made calls and set plans in motion. An agent explained that Olivia would need to enter witness protection temporarily, just until the trial, a few months at most. "Can Nicholas come with me?" Olivia asked, already knowing the answer. The agent shook her head. "He's too high profile. It would defeat the purpose." "I'm sorry." Olivia felt her world crumbling. She looked at Nicholas, saw the same devastation in his eyes. They were given 10 minutes to say goodbye. 10 minutes to acknowledge everything they had found and were about to lose. "Find me," Olivia said, tears streaming down her face. "When this is over, please find me." Nicholas held her face in his hands. "I'll find you anywhere. I'll wait as long as it takes. You're not just some pretend wife to me. You're everything real I've ever wanted." They kissed one more time, desperate and heartbroken. Then agents led Olivia away, and she didn't look back because she knew if she did, she'd never be able to leave. 3 months passed like 3 years. Olivia lived in a small apartment in a city she'd never visited, under a name that wasn't hers. She worked at a library and tried not to think about Nicholas every second of every day. She failed. The crime boss was arrested. Troy testified and entered witness protection himself. The case was closed. Olivia was free to go home. But home felt empty now. She returned to her old apartment on a gray November afternoon. Everything was exactly as she had left it, covered in dust. She cleaned mechanically, trying not to feel the absence of Nicholas in every corner. She had no way to contact him. The FBI had made sure of that. And why would a billionaire wait for someone like her anyway? He had probably moved on, returned to his life of beautiful people and important things. A knock on her door startled her. She almost didn't answer, afraid it might be more danger. But when she looked through the peephole, her heart stopped. Nicholas stood in the hallway. He looked thinner, tired, like he hadn't slept in months. In his hand was a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite. Olivia threw open the door. They stood there staring at each other, both afraid to believe it was real. "You came," she whispered. "I've been coming every day for 3 months," Nicholas said, his voice rough with emotion. "I didn't know when you'd be back, but I couldn't risk missing it. I couldn't risk losing you again." Olivia's tears came freely now. "I thought you'd forget me. Move on." Nicholas stepped closer, cupping her face like he had that first night. "Forget you. Olivia, you're all I think about. Every morning I woke up in that empty penthouse, and it felt like a tomb because you weren't there. You brought life into my world. You brought me back to life." "I love you," Olivia said, the words spilling out. "I know it's crazy. I know we're from different worlds, but I love you." "Then marry me," Nicholas said, dropping to one knee right there in the hallway. "Not pretend this time. Real. Forever. Marry me and let me spend the rest of my life proving that love doesn't care about different worlds. We'll build our own world together." He pulled out a ring, simple and beautiful, with a single diamond that caught the light. Olivia pulled him to his feet and kissed him with everything she had. "Yes," she said against his lips. "Yes, yes, yes." They stood in her doorway, holding each other, crying and laughing. Neighbors peeked out to see what the commotion was, but neither of them cared. They had found each other again. They had found home. Sometimes the most unexpected moments bring us exactly where we're meant to be. Olivia ran into danger and found her soulmate. Nicholas saved a stranger and discovered his purpose. Their pretend marriage became the most real thing either had ever known. Because true love doesn't follow plans. It finds you when you're brave enough to trust a stranger's whisper in the dark, when you're willing to believe that sometimes the person who saves your life is the person you were always meant to find. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who believes in unexpected love. Drop a comment telling us what you would do if a stranger asked you to pretend to be married. Subscribe for more incredible love stories that prove romance isn't dead, it's just waiting for the perfect moment. See you in the next story.